Good evening. Welcome to a Select Board regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. We are going to be going right into executive session to discuss a poverty abatement application pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056F, and this will be a discussion of confidential records. And I would be looking for a motion, please.
We'll make a motion that we go into executive session to hear the poverty abatement application, Section 36 MSRA 841.
Second. And all those in favor? All right. Hi, everyone. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn executive session.
I'll make a motion that
So moved.
Okay.
All right,
Second.
Sam? You got
Derek
did right out of that?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? All right, so welcome to our meeting. I am going to, if it's okay with everybody and there's no objections, move up a couple items. I'd like to start with new business A, the poverty abatement application that we were just in executive session for. And what I would be looking for is a motion that the Raymond Select Board hereby denies a property tax property abatement in the amount of $18,684.36 on the assessed value of the property for the tax years 2022, 2024, 2025 pursuant to 36 MRSA 841.
23, 24, 25.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
22.
looking right at the numbers. So I'm sorry, I apologize.
The
2023.
studio is on mute.
Oh, the studio's on mute.
Oh. Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Is that, Brian, can you hear us now?
No, I think it's, there you go. I think it's good now.
Okay, all set.
All right, thank you. I'll start again. So I'm looking for a motion that the Raymond Select Board hereby denies a property tax abatement in the amount of $18,684.36 on the assessed value of the property for the tax years 2023, 2024, and 2025 pursuant to 36 MRSA Section 841.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And all those in favor? All right, and then Phil is here. So then again, I apologize. I would like to move another item out of order, and that is 4F, the TIF discussion. To keep in mind our lawyer's time.
Bill, could you make me the host again? I can't show you the screen.
Okay, hold on.
Brian, the host.
Going all over the place.
Phil, do you want to come up here?
No, this is a different one.
No, that's a different one,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's another big.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got a couple mics up here, or you can go there.
Glenn, you should be all set.
Thank you, Bill.
I think it's the block. It's after recycling, so it's pretty far down.
It's page 85.
85? Oh, way down.
It's also up on the screen if you'd like.
There we go.
just dive in?
Yeah, go for it.
Great.
Oh, I guess I'll give a little primer.
Okay.
Sorry. Got ahead of myself. So this discussion has come up a couple times, initiated at the Budget Finance Committee a couple weeks back, who had recommended the Select Board take up the discussion around tax increment financing as a result of some of the comp plan work that occurred over the last year in the East Raymond Village zone, I believe. Given the timing of the reval and all that stuff, I wanted to invite Phil Celsier, town attorney, and Kurt Liddell, our tax assessor, to sort of just talk about, the TIF primer, so to speak, and what that process looks like if the board were to establish a TIF and what that how.
Chris. Great. Thank you very much for having me. Again, I'm Phil Saucier from Bernstein Shore, work with the town. And this is a presentation I give quite often. It's a TIF 101, so very high level, just to kind of level set on what a TIF district is, how does it work, that kind of thing. And please feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind that at all. So I'm just going to briefly go over these kind of topics. What is a TIF district? Types of TIF districts that you could adopt. How can TIF revenues be spent? What is a tax shift benefit? And that's something that's sort of one of the important parts of a TIF from a municipal perspective. And then just a brief overview of your current TIF. All right, so what's a TIF district? When we like to talk about it's an economic development tool. It's really one of the only or few economic development tools the legislature has authorized municipalities to use. What it does is that you would establish a geographic boundary around parcels in your community. It then captures, and I'm going to get into some of this a little more detail as I go, it captures that value that's there today. We call that the original assessed value. So whatever the parcel is. And think about it as typically, but not always, undeveloped land or underdeveloped land. So the value is going to be lower, but you're expecting maybe development to come, or you want to incentivize development to come. You have to have a development program. That's sort of the documents, the narrative about the TIF and what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. And then after that, after town meeting, so the board would put it forward, but it's still a legislative body determination. So the town meeting would have to adopt it, and then DECD or Maine Housing would approve it depending on the type of TIF. So TIFs can help you achieve economic development, as I mentioned. Focused development, so your comprehensive plan or your land use ordinance, if you're trying to incentivize certain types of development, it's one way to do that. You can attract investment. That's what some communities use it for. Jobs, so certain facilities that may want to come to the town. You can use the TIF funds for infrastructure projects, and there's a tax shift benefit. The next slide is really a good sort of indicator of what I was talking about, the sort of original assessed value. So I'll just explain what you're seeing there. So the easiest way to think about it, so that green is the base of the project. So if you were to do a TIF today, and I do this because I think of it as a district, right? You're putting it around there's going to be an assessed value. Let's just say it's $1 million in that district today. And then you put a TIF district around it, and then that means you're going to capture any increase in that value that occurs going forward. So someone comes forward, they build a facility, there's some other kind of development. In my hypo, they'd put $5 million into it. Could be a lot more, depending on the kind of TIF. So that $5 million, the landowners are still going to pay taxes, same mill rate on that whole $6 million. But the original assessed value that you froze in time, those taxes are going to go to your general fund. And the taxes on that new $5 million is going to go to your TIF fund. And that matters because TIF revenues are, you can only spend them for certain types of projects. So they're more like restricted funds, if you want to think of it that way. And at the end of the life of the TIF, so 30 years, you could have a TIF for as long, up to 30 years. That whole $6 million will just be back on your regular tax rolls as general fund, for general fund revenue purposes. So there are a couple I'm just going to quickly over this, but these are the limitations. So the area has to be at least 25% blighted, need of rehabilitation, redevelopment, or conservation, or suitable for commercial or arts district uses. That's typically met fairly easily because of commercial development potential. There's acreage caps and value caps. What that means is you can't have, a TIF district can't exceed more than 2% of the acreage in your community. And then you can't have more than 5% of the municipality in a TIF, so of all your TIFs put together. There are some exclusions, and some towns use these. There's something called a downtown TIF. I'll get into each of these three very briefly in a second. A transit-oriented TIF and a community wind power TIF. So there's also a value cap. So remember that original assessed value that you're going to capture? You can't put more than 5% of your municipal valuation in a TIF, all combined, of all the TIFs you have. TIF districts can be up to 30 years.
I have a question on that.
Yeah, please.
So if it does go over the value, it just caps at that value, but you could still do it in that area, or you're just not allowed to do that area if it's...
So you would, yeah, you couldn't do it if it went over 5%. But remember that it's frozen in time. You want to think of it that way. So you'll know ahead of time if it's going to meet the cap or not. Anything that grows, that's the revenue that you're going to capture, or the value you're going to capture. The limit is 30 years. However, just a year or two ago, the legislature did allow for an extension for additional 20 years if you're going to use at least 75% of your revenues for affordable housing projects or transit-oriented development. I've worked with a few communities that have now triggered that, and so those are 50-year TIFs. It's just that the last 20 years, it's for those restricted purposes, to transit-oriented development costs or housing or affordable housing costs. So there's two basic kinds of TIFs. They work very similarly. There's the economic development TIF. That's what most people will think of. That's the Department of Economic and Community Development will eventually review and approve your TIF. That's an economic development TIF. The other side you hear about is affordable housing TIFs. And Maine Housing Authority is the state agency that reviews those after the legislative body approves it. They work identically, but they have slightly different purposes and slightly different costs that you can use on the municipal side. The other types of TIFs, and on very high level, these are all economic development TIFs, the DECD type of TIFs. Downtown TIFs, these are used by municipalities that want to really focus development into their downtowns. These can be large, and that they are excluded from that acreage and valuation cap. So you can put a lot of your town into a downtown TIF. You have to have a downtown redevelopment plan. There are other kind of prerequisites, but I work with a number of communities that have these, and the idea is to obviously rejuvenate your downtowns. A transit-oriented TIF is also excluded from the caps, and again, this is for communities that are trying to incentivize transit-oriented development. So housing, workforce, and transit corridors all in the same area. Omnibus is really it's not really a different type of TIF. What an omnibus means is that you can give a credit enhancement agreement, and I will get into that in a moment in more detail, to multiple developers. So typically, one way that people think about it, and I should have a slide right after this about credit enhancement agreements, but I don't. But a credit enhancement agreement is what some people think of a TIF, but it's really not. It's one of the ways you can spend TIF revenues, and that's the reimbursement to a developer for a part of their property tax to incentivize that development. So that is what people think of it sometimes, but that's just one of the ways you can spend your dollars. If you want an omnibus TIF, that means you want the ability for the municipality to negotiate multiple credit enhancement agreements. The best way to think about that is like, your traditional office park. You may have 10 lots and you want people to come in, so you want to pre-approve yourself to be able to negotiate reimbursements. Again, an affordable housing TIF is it's used quite frequently throughout the state. They're typically used for projects that are working with Maine Housing on the low-income tax credit program. And you may see that every cycle in the news. They usually say Maine Housing has awarded projects. That's a program they do, and it's almost become a prerequisite really to have a municipal TIF because it helps with the scoring of those projects. So they want some buy-in from the community. And so what I see in the towns I work with that have affordable housing, you'll see all of a sudden, a month or two before this deadline, people come to the town and say, can I get a TIF for this affordable housing project? And you get points for that, and you get more points the more reimbursement you get. So that's what that is. It's a defined term what affordable is. It's income-based, and it's really run by the Maine Housing. So this is a process slide, right? So what you would be doing, and it sounds like you're doing a little bit at this point, you have a group that starts to think about whether you want a TIF, whether you need a TIF, you develop that. And you think about, what you're trying to incentivize. What the statute requires is a pretty simple, quite frankly. You have to have very specific notice requirement, 10 days before the public hearing. You have to have a public hearing and a legislative vote. Those can happen on the same night. So sometimes I work with town meeting towns that will have special town meeting just for this purpose. They'll have a public hearing and then the vote. And then finally, you'll have a review by DC to remain housing, depending on what kind of TIF. And it's important to note that the state agencies are not going to second guess your reasons. Their review is just to make sure you followed all the statutory requirements and like the caps. You met all the standards. But they're not going to say, no, you can't have that TIF. That's up to you, the municipality. Okay, so how can TIF revenues be spent? So what I'm talking about here are those TIF revenues. In other words, the taxes paid on the increased assessed value in that TIF district. So again, just remember we froze the base value. A company comes in, builds a facility, you've captured all that. So those taxes are going to go to your TIF fund. And there's a benefit, and that's an upcoming slide on why that's helpful. But what can you do with it? Well, you can only spend your TIF revenues on certain costs that are in the statute, and you identify those in a general sense as in your development program. So when you put together a TIF, you say what you want to spend your funds on, and then you can use those for those purposes. There's 3 tiers. So one is project costs inside the TIF district. The easiest way to think about it is like roads, infrastructure, literally in that district, right? So you've got to upgrade facilities and stuff like that. That's one of the costs. Tier 2 costs are projects that are outside the district but related to or necessary by. Another easy way to think about it are roads or utility lines, are linear. They have to go somewhere, so you can upgrade going into the site. The real big bucket that people spend funds are tier 3, which are anywhere in the municipality, and they're all sort of economic development purposes, but you have to fit with it in one of those costs. So for example, you wouldn't be able to just do, you wouldn't be able to just upgrade a road out here if it's not in the TIF district related to it. Some people ask that question, you couldn't do that. But these tier 3 costs are pretty broad, and the legislature adds to them every other year or so. I'm just gonna give you a highlight of some of what those look like. So for example, economic development programs or events. So you might hear of like the downtown, downtown get-togethers that some communities have, beautification projects on their main street. Those are the kind of things for economic development purposes. Environmental improvement projects, skills training and development, child care facilities and adult care facilities. The idea being people need to go to work, and so you can fund those kind of places. Recreational trails, that's a popular one, particularly up north, because you can also use them for snowmobile trails and cross-country skiing trails. Transit related services, fisheries and wildlife. Popular one now is municipal public safety facilities, and also town-owned facilities. That's a brand new one. So before you couldn't do town halls. I was always said, no, you can't do town halls. Now you can essentially do any municipal building that are used for up to 50% of the capital costs for facilities owned by the municipality, and things like that. So, and affordable housing too. So you can even use them for affordable housing projects in here. The one thing I would note is the difference between affordable housing in a DCD TIF and a main housing TIF is that main housing, DCD thinks of housing, the only thing that's eligible is rental housing, because in their mind that's sort of more commercial. If you're going to have affordable owned units, that's really going to, and you want to use funds for that, that's going to be a main housing type of TIF. This is where we work with the town a lot, is really identifying some of those project costs ahead of time, because if you don't have them in there, you'll have to do an amendment, and we help with amendments, but that's one of the things you can do. So funding project costs, credit enhancement agreements, you can use them as a security for municipal bonds. So you can use them, you could bond for a project that's eligible and use TIF funds in the future to pay for that debt service. And you can set aside TIF revenues. In other words, they don't lapse like a general fund. They would stay in your TIF account, these funds. So credit enhancement agreement, the next slide, is, again, this is what a lot of people think about. And honestly, sometimes that's when a town is asked to adopt a TIF district. It's because the developers coming into town, they try to make the case that they will need some assistance to make it financially viable. That's a negotiation with the town. And the way it works is the town and the developer negotiate a partial reimbursement of the property taxes paid on the increased assessed value. In other words, the value they brought to that lot, so not on that original base value. And that can run the gamut. You'll see affordable housing TIFs. Usually those are a fairly high percentage because the community's decided they want to help pay for that and to subsidize that. Commercial ventures are, run the gamut about what percentage, and sometimes they ratchet down over time, for example, because there's more upfront costs. The idea being, but for the credit enhancement agreement, you may not get the project, you may not have the benefit of the increased taxes and TIF revenues and the jobs. And at least the last time I counted, within a year or so ago, at least over 50%, it was closer to 60% of TIF districts in the state have at least one credit enhancement agreement with a developer. So what's the other benefit? And this is the real big ticket benefit, is a tax shift benefit. So the way a TIF works is you're capturing that increased assessed value, but what does capturing mean? What it means is you're hiding it from the state, legally hiding it. You're allowed to do it. That's what it does. So the state municipal valuation, you have a municipal valuation, right? The state uses that to determine a bunch of different things. If you have a new project, and it can be substantial, I mean, sometimes we put a TIF in because a new $100 million project's going, it's a $60 million project. Those kind of things will add to your municipal valuation. And when your municipal valuation goes up, 3 different levers are sort of impacted. Your state education subsidy goes down. Your county taxes go up, because county taxes are essentially just a proportion of your municipal valuation. And your state revenue sharing will go down. Those are the 3 things that happen when your value goes up. So if you TIF an area where a lot of value is coming in, that value does not go into your municipal valuation. So the state doesn't see that, and the county doesn't see that for purposes of calculating those things. So that gets you a benefit. That's why there are caps, because that's why the state's okay, you can do up to 5% of that, because really what it's doing, it's sort of other communities are kind of paying for that, but everyone has the opportunity to do it. The next slide just kind of gets into a little bit of what each of those categories are. County taxes, general purpose aid for education, municipal revenue sharing. Those are the 3 that are, the next slide is what I have to show. I will say for Raymond, your tax rate benefit is fairly low because you're a minimum receiver town for education. So, and if you think about what that means, you already get the minimum, right? So where most of the tax share benefit comes from when we have to run calculations, it's actually required that we run the calculations and provide to the state. It's part of the application. Most of the big bang for the buck is on the education subsidy. So if a community is, getting quite a big share, and all of a sudden they have a $100 million project, they're going to lose a bunch of education money. And so it's in their interest to TIF it. And so I like to show the slide. What this slide shows is if you do not TIF a new project, you do lose some cents on the dollar of those new taxes because of that tax shift benefit, right? Yours is fairly low. It's in the, I wrote it down, it's in the single or double digits. A lot of communities I work with, it's 60, 50, 70%. Right, so they're going to lose 70 cents on the dollar. One of the ones I just worked with the other day, if they don't TIF a project. Yours is much more modest. I want to say 9% was the last one we looked at, but there's still a benefit to you. You're still going to keep more money if you're going to TIF an area. And again, this is only one of the benefits. The other benefits are those economic development reasons, right? So using it for revenue purposes. You have one TIF. I like the slide to just show, you do have one in place. It's going to expire just in a couple years, 3 years. And it's a fairly limited TIF for limited purposes at this point. You did do an amendment recently to add in project cost. And then finally, you can have TIF guidelines. I don't believe the town of Raymond does. Not every town has them. But some towns I work with are frequently asked to enter the TIF, to do TIFs. And so it can be helpful to have a process. Some guidelines around when they want to do it, when they want to have a credit enhancement agreement. There's some examples out there if you want to find them. It also can help with costs, right? Because if you're going to spend money on consultants and others to review it, you could have an application fee, for example, if it's an application from a developer or something like that to say we'd like to have a TIF. And that's it. I will say one other project cost that's helpful, I forgot to mention this, that a lot of communities use, that you can use your TIF dollars on, are certain staff revenues. So there can be some general fund benefit. You can use TIF dollars for any staff related to economic development. So when I see a lot of communities use that for, if you have an economic development director, they can pay for almost the whole salary out of their TIF account. You can do partial code enforcement planner, town manager, to the extent they're working on any economic development. So you can see, I see percentages of their salaries being paid for that way. And of course, any legal fees, consultant fees can be paid out of that to the extent you're working on the TIF. So that's a general overview. Happy to answer any questions.
Any of you have a question?
Pretty thorough.
Good, thanks.
Kurt, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Oop, I don't know why that's. Sorry. Bill, I gave you host back if you want to. There you go.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the assessor's on if you have any questions for him. I will only add just one thing is since you concluded your comp plan work and started this discussion, LD 1829 is, I think, sort of looming in the background of the area that you're targeting, and that could sort of change the market dynamic on, like, when you started studying this, the outcome of that legislation may impact how that drives the type of development that will occur there. So just something to think about. And is that 2027 we have to change?
For town meeting towns, yeah.
For town meeting towns. Do you want to just give a quick overview? I know you're familiar with it. You might be of what that
Yeah, I have another whole presentation of it about 5 times now because there's a lot of interest in LD 1829. Very high level. It's an amendment to what people know as LD 2003, which became well known. Really, the legislature has increased density, essentially, through mandates, express preemption, municipal home rule. Depending on the area of your town, there's going to be more density required. I mean, I can get you more details on that, but that's the sort of general, overview. I will say, to the extent that you're talking about incentivizing residential development, that is not what a DCD TIF is designed to do, other than rental housing, right? So where I see it being used is, apartments and things like that. You can use it for that purpose, but single-family homes, for example, that's not something you can TIF or give credit enhancement agreements for.
But you could for multifamily affordable housing.
Or multifamily market rate, for that matter. They make a distinction on rental. DCD does. But if you're starting to build owned units, I'll call them, those do not qualify for economic development at this point. That's not something that they don't take that interpretation.
Thank you.
Yes, I just was curious if anybody else had a question real quick.
I have a question again. I work with a client friend on Deep Cove on 302, corner of 302, and she's interested in doing an assisted living, selling for an assisted living project, as well as the lot would be split up into 5 home, maybe even 8. Some of it's waterfront. And I heard you say you couldn't do it for residential, but if it's sold, it's in tree growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if we know she's selling it for residential use and assisted living, and it's a large portion of land there, and there's a water line that ends right at the corner of Deep Cove. So for infrastructure-wise, it could be utilized to put that water line down to help the fire department as well as residents down through that Deep Cove Road.
Yeah.
Would that be something that would qualify, even though it's mostly residential? As far as a TIF area?
Yeah, it could. Certainly, like an assisted living, memory care, those kind of facilities would qualify. And so if that's in the district, and to the extent that some of the infrastructure is needed to service that new facility, you can do proportional amounts too. So DCD would like to see, for example, if it's a large single-family development, but then you do have a commercial, what you can do is use a proportional amount of your TIF dollars to pay for it. Understanding.
But that TIF would be right beside the one that comes down, I believe, beside 302. I'm not sure. It comes down. It crosses at 85, but it's
not currently in it.
It's not. What I'm saying, if they expanded into it, it would be close enough to abut it, and then it might also affect putting money in the park, which we're talking about developing right across the street from that, beside the fire station.
Right.
Actually doing a town park there. So you'd have a bit of
Yeah.
Even though it's residential, it could be used for that water line as well as the park.
That's right. As long as at least 25% of the area that you're going to put in there is suitable for commercial development.
Is a park considered commercial?
You have to
Park.
rezone it, Dennis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's shoreline zone, and those commercial uses that you mentioned aren't allowed. And that's going to be an uphill struggle, but
Okay,
it's
so it'd be
not one of the allowed uses.
long reach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
I will say, though, that one of the points you made about like the park, for example, or other municipal uses, one strategy that municipalities will use is, say there's a big development here, but you do want to use it for other purposes, you can expand this TIF district to include the areas that you do want to use your funds for, right? Because there's that inside the district category. So if it's, and I've seen municipalities do that, where you may add some roads leading up to it in the district. You can have the road itself because you want to use TIF funds for those roads. So that's an example of the park or other things you could include.
And you're saying, Chris, even in assisted living couldn't be done in that area without rezoning?
I don't know. I'd have to read the ordinance
Well, I thought
again,
this was
but
the time to ask a question.
We could talk about it for sure.
All right. Well,
And there's other options.
I just thought it would include, with the park maybe happening, which is a good chance, and it's beside the fire station, and the infrastructure ends with the water line right there, and it could be extended down Deep Cove. It would help citizens, plus the park, and assisted living is something she really wants to put in that area. And the hydrant could even go up 302 as far as that goes, and the park could be put on the 302 side, I mean the assisted living, so going towards the commercial area. Anyway, I think I heard my answer. Thank you.
Go ahead, Peter.
Just stay with it if there's any questions. I think the email got it, but.
211 Road, so just a couple of questions to help clarify a little bit. So as far as, and I think that you're right, Chris, I think in a lot, if the area we're talking about up here right now potentially would need rezoning as well. So for doing any of these things, most likely it's going to require planning board and then the voters of the town to agree for a rezone. So that's something that would require a fair amount of work to do. Also, we last year actually, and I believe this would have fallen into a tier 3. We used money from the existing TIF now. We had to petition the state that was outside of the TIF zone in order to establish more web internet, and they agreed to that.
Yep.
So that would probably fall into like a tier 3 as well.
It's a tier 3 cost. Yeah.
Okay.
Broadband, expansion of broadband and those
Yep.
kind of things. Yep.
Also, as far as the ability to use the money that's in the existing TIF to defray the legal costs for developing a new TIF would be allowed as well.
You can use for TIF funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could use existing TIF funds now to help defray the cost
Oh, I
of
see what
legal
you're saying.
expenses.
Good question. So the way it's written is it's for legal fees related to that TIF.
Yeah.
So the development of the particular TIF you're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Because
not-
it would also fall in line with economic development. Correct.
Right.
So it would also, it has that advantage for us.
Wait, I'm confused. It sounds like you said no, but then you kind of said yes. Current
I
TIF.
said no, but
Okay.
then he said a different cost, which actually is allowed. So there's two different costs. So there's
Right. Okay.
there's administrative costs.
So the current TIF value, current TIF that we have
Yeah.
can be, I think he's asking, can be used for future TIF development in a different area, and you're saying no, it can't be?
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
So here are the two different costs. I'm saying yes, actually. So
Okay, good.
administrative costs. I'll read it to you so you can exactly hear what it is. Administrative costs, including but not limited to reasonable charges for the time spent by employees in connection with the implementation of a development program. So that's the employee side. Any development program. So all the economic development you're doing. You can also use it for professional service costs, including licensing, architectural planning, engineering, and legal expenses related to economic development purposes.
In any spot, not.
That's right.
Perfect.
That's right.
So
What I was getting at is the specific, the implementation and the operation of your particular TIF, that usually comes from that particular TIF's TIF funds.
okay.
But you'd want to put that in your development program now, What I don't know, because I don't have it in front of me, is if your existing TIF has those types of costs listed. It was a fairly prescribed type of TIF. They were very limited costs, so you want to make sure those are in there. You could amend it again, too.
What's the time frame for to set some TIF district up?
It can go as quickly as a town wants to go. I mean, obviously, you have to have a town meeting.
Yep.
You have to have at least one public hearing, right? So those are the sort of outer
We're
bounds.
talking months, not years.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it can come together in a couple of months at the fastest, I would say, because you still have to, there's a notice requirement 10 days in the newspaper prior to that public hearing, so you're backing out from there. It's going to take you a little time to develop in your municipal meetings and things like that, so.
In your experience, is it usually for a municipality our size, 4,000 people or so, is it common for them to have an economic development committee to help guide that, or is it something?
It really depends. I can't say that it's a one-size-fits-all.
Who usually develops a plan that it's to submit it to the state?
It's typically the municipal officers working together with its consultants, and the municipal officers may have some assistance, like through a committee and that kind of thing. Some of the towns I work with obviously have professional staff,
Okay.
economic development directors, things like that, and they'll work on it too.
So would the services of like GP Cog be helping us?
They could be, yeah. It could be. We do we draft the TIF documents,
right.
but really the work that you need to decide is where do you want it, right? Where would you want it, and that kind of
I'm sure there's some
thing.
guidance from MMA as well.
Yeah,
And
sure there is, yeah.
It is clear that Raymond, because of its valuation, we get minimal back from the state as far as that concerned, and I appreciate that. The fact that would not be something that would produce a large savings for the town.
Right.
However, as you say, credit enhancements from developers would certainly be something, and also the defraying the county or hiding the money from the county, especially if in fact we were looking at a situation where, let's say, the jail was going to experience between a 9 and 13% increase, depending on what their contract says, for this coming year. So there would be an advantage to hide.
Yeah, it shelters that new value from your municipal valuation.
Great.
So that affects your county taxes.
Yeah. Thank you.
And those TIF funds don't expire once they're in there?
They actually do eventually. So you have to spend them up to, but you've got 30 years, obviously, and then you have 3 years after the expiration of the TIF district to spend them.
So 3 years after 29?
Yeah.
For this
your current.
For the one we have to go.
Yeah.
And wasn't there like emergency legislation last year that affected, like, because we had the Dingley TIF expire, and then we didn't use it, but there was, because when that LD passed, the timing didn't work, but I don't know what that.
Well, it
that
used to be,
legislation
that may be what you're thinking about. So it didn't used to be 3 years. It used to be much shorter. I want to say it was
Okay.
6 months.
Gotcha.
So it was extended to 3 years.
Gotcha.
And if you don't use it, you can still use it. It's just that it's akin to taking your retirement fund out early, right? So you're going to get a hit on it. So the money doesn't go away. What would happen is you put it back in your general fund. You have to report that to the state and the county, and then they will correspondingly adjust your reimbursements over the next couple of years to make up for what you would have, if it would have been in your valuation.
Called a penalty.
It's a penalty, yeah, essentially. But you'll still have those funds.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
There was nothing from Kurt.
That's fine.
I was just going to ask if we could move up one more item, just in case you had questions for Phil, and that was item D, the schedule for the special election.
Oh, okay. So I think we're done with the TIF discussion, and I'm gonna miss things, so you guys have to keep track of me today. Let's move up item 4D. Nobody minds? And that's the status of special election. Would you like to?
Madam Chair, you need a motion. It was tabled, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. We did table it.
So what would the motion be structured? How would that be structured?
No clue.
To open it back up for discussion?
Sure.
I make a motion that the discussion about the special election to fill the vacant Select Board seat, we open it up for discussion.
Do I have a second? Derek, all those in favor? Thank you for keeping us on track, Peter.
Okay, so I'll just do my best to give an overview from the last meeting. So obviously there was some ambiguity in the ordinance and then the interpretation of that 90-day window. So the initial recommendation of the clerk was to schedule the special election for February. After feedback from the board and the public, we sort of revisited that and spoke with the town attorney and believe there's also a statute in which the board may schedule the election. We should be working together as opposed to just the ordinance compelling us to administratively execute it. So Mel has prepared a memo recommending we schedule the special election for the regular election in June. And I'll kind of tee it up to hand off to Mel if she wants to talk about what her recommendation is and what she's asking from the board, or if you have any questions.
Yeah, so last month when we discussed this, I was requesting that the select board shorten the nomination process. And after public feedback, you, as a board, decided to kind of push that out. So the normal timeframe for the nomination process is a total of 100 days. So it's 40 days to collect signatures, and that due date for those signatures to be turned in is 60 days before the election. So for a total of 100 days. And if, at this point, if we were to do 100 days from effectively tomorrow, that brings us to the middle of May. Which is just a couple of weeks before we already have a scheduled election for other election of officers already. And having not predicted or budgeted for 2 extra elections this cycle, it would work well to hold off and have the election for the vacancy be a 1-year position that is an option for candidates to choose to collect signatures for the June 9th election, like I said, is already scheduled. If you do go with that date, nomination papers will be made available on Tuesday, March 3rd, needing to be due back to my office by the end of the day on Friday, April 10th. And absentee voting will happen in there, and then election day will be on June 9th. And I'm just looking to kind of get a feel for what it is that the board wants to do. If that scheduling works for you, then I just want that memorialized so I can move forward.
Thank you, Melanie. Before we have public comment or any debate and discussion from the board, I would like the board, now is your opportunity to ask specific questions to staff or Melanie regarding this.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Did you have any specific questions?
That's the only option, Mel, anyway, is the 100.
The normal process is 100 days, yes.
And we were doing it faster because of the recall ordinance instead of the.
That's what I was asked for at the
first
last
time?
meeting. Yep. It sounded like the board wanted and the public wanted to give candidates the full 100 days. And so if we, like I said, if we start doing that tomorrow, 100 days out from tomorrow brings us to the middle of May, which is just a couple weeks before the June election that's already scheduled anyway.
Derek, did you have any
So
further
at that
questions?
point, we might as well wait until June.
Is there any public comment on this item? Go ahead.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. Respectfully, I guess I would just ask this for the sake of understanding and transparency for myself. And so what changed, I guess, I didn't get quite a clear explanation of what changed versus last month. Because last month, I heard at least 2 select persons and the interim town manager say that they had had conversations with legal and was told that June was too late. It couldn't happen. So I guess I'm respectfully asking what changed.
I think what we asked was we wanted more clarification from the town attorney. And I think after a deeper dive, we got the answer that we could have it in June at the June 9th town meeting.
Going off of the recall ordinance, I believe, is what we.
And we were going off the recall ordinance and the public, as they discussed it, seemed to be, the discussions we heard at the last meeting were to give people the ample time. We heard concerns about absentee voting. We heard concerns about the mail. We heard all kinds of concerns. So we just asked Glenn to do a deeper dive, and the answer we got was you could do it in June 9th without violating any statute, as I recall. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, Chris. It does. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I guess my other question would be, and I could do this under public comment, but I'll do it now. Take the opportunity since I'm standing here. One last trip up here. As far as the overall effectiveness, or I should say appropriateness, that I asked a question about at the last Select Board meeting, which is the recall and appointments ordinance, June of 2012, has proven, to me anyway, to be, at the very least, difficult to interpret, poorly organized, outdated, and what I did really request was that at a future agenda, prior to the June election, meaning getting it on the warrant, asking the citizens of the town of Raymond if they're satisfied with this ordinance, or would they like to revise it or repeal it. And so I'm going to just take the opportunity to say that once again. I know your plates are overflowing, and there are a lot of things to do. But my sense is that there needs to be some provision for guardrails that possibly weren't required in 2012. But I would tell you very definitely, in my opinion, in 2026, in order to protect or encouraging candidates, citizens of this town, to come forward and say, yeah, I'd like to serve the town. I would tell you I'd have second thoughts about running for office if, in fact, I knew that this ordinance loomed large and has now been used at least once. So I just, to take this opportunity to reinforce that I would really appreciate if that was at least a topic of discussion in a future Select Board meeting. Thanks.
Dennis Morse, 340 Cape Road. A little clarification. If I'm understanding what was just laid out, the process would continue for both the 2 vacancies coming up in June, as well as a vacancy created with this wonderful ordinance at the same time. In other words, everyone would take out and correct me if that's wrong, if I'm understanding this wrong, but it would just roll into the same timetable that the 2 vacancies coming up in June, Sam's and Derek's, would be with this vacancy that was created when that came up, or are we going to do a different time period?
It's my understanding that this will match.
They both start. Everything starts the same time.
That's correct.
Thank you. And appreciate you taking in the public's voice and reconsidering that, and the lawyers reconsidering what they said originally.
The ordinance is just ambiguous.
Sean McKelp, 84 Main Street. Mel, can you repeat something? I think you said that this would be a 1-year term. Is that my understanding?
Yep.
So how do you differentiate if you have
You take out papers for the 1 year term, or you would take out papers for a 3-year term. But the
So-
date of the election would be the same.
Sure.
The terms would be different.
So what happens if people only take out 3-year, everybody takes out papers for 3-year terms?
Then that's what we have, and that seat would remain unfilled. That would be my understanding.
Mel, isn't the remainder of the term 2 years, or is it a year?
1 year.
One.
Is it? Okay, I wasn't
It'll
sure
be
of the term.
it'll be 1 year when we.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, I went through a similar thing where we had a recall. The board member ended up resigning, but yeah, you would take out your nomination papers for whatever seat you're choosing to run for. So there would be the full term and then the one that has the partial term.
That's right, separate question about it.
Are there any further questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I would entertain a motion to include the special election to fill the current Select Board vacancy on the warrant for the election of town officials for the secret ballot vote already scheduled for June 9th, 2026.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Thank you, and all those in favor?
Any discussion first? Or do we
Oh,
already-
I'm sorry, I apologize. Any discussion?
We kind of did, but I just wanted to thank everybody for speaking their minds and reminding us of what happened at the last meeting before we vote, because I think it was good comments. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's good.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you, Phil.
All right. At risk of missing things, I think I'm going to start from the top. So I would like to do approval of minutes. Is there a motion for the approval of the November 18th, 2025 special select board minutes?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes of November 18th, 2025 special board minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
I got Derek.
I
on
was
that.
first.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Any
Wake up pretty early to
discussion?
beat me on that one.
Any discussion or amendments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? All right. Now looking for November 18th, 2025 regular select board minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 18th, 2025 regular select board minutes.
Second.
Derek is the second, and all those, any discussion or amendments? And all those in favor? All right, and the last set, please.
I wasn't there, so I can't make the motion.
Okay.
I'll make it.
Sure.
A motion to accept December 5th, 2025 emergency select board meeting minutes.
And a second.
I can't second that one, Sam.
And you're going to abstain?
Yep.
Okay. And all those in favor? That still passes with a 3. All right. Kurt, are you still with us? We are now at 4B, consideration of supplemental assessments.
He is.
Hey, can you folks hear me okay?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Okay, I have 2 tree growth withdrawal penalties. They're both voluntary withdrawals from the tree growth program. They're total withdrawals.
Page
Both
11.
properties have homes on them already with acreage that's already unclassified. So this is withdrawals of extra land that they have on their parcels. The first, I have one withdrawal for $4,709 and another withdrawal for $4,072.80, totaling $8,781.80. Both parties have been given these amounts and have consented to the withdrawal. So I'm asking that the board issue these penalties as supplemental tax assessments. There should be some forms, hopefully. There are 3 forms there for you folks to sign. If there's not, then we'll put the forms out for the board to filter in later this week.
Thank you, Kurt. I believe we do have the forms. Are there any specific questions for board members for Kurt regarding these? Okay.
No question.
All right, is there any public discussion? Okay, and then debate or discussion from the board? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2 supplemental tax assessments as shown on the attached certificate, warrant, and list totaling $8,781.80.
Do we have to separate those?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, according
Okay.
to the recommended motion.
Perfect.
So you want a second?
Nope, I want someone to.
To motion it.
I'll make
to-
the motion.
So
I'll
move it, thank you. And then a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. And then, all those in favor? All right, thank you.
You got the 2 documents to sign?
Are they?
They're in the folder, pink
I would
folder.
imagine they're in the folder.
Yep.
All right, next, 4C, award of contract curbside solid waste recycling collection. You're up, Nathan.
So we went out to bid for curbside recycling and MSW, which is your household trash pickup. We had 2 bidders. One was Allagash Waste, and the other one was our current contractor, Casella Waste. There's a lot of things that are going to change in this new contract. They're going to a new system it's called SLA. It's every resident's going to get 2 toters, and they're going to pick the product up with a automated system. It's going to be about a year to put it all together. So what we'll see July 1st through the following year will be no change. That'll give Casella and the town to get ready for the change. It was a substantial increase. 83.67% increase. We went from 310,000 a year to 569,000. So I am just here to look to get permission to award the bid. There are going to be some changes in there. I'm going to try to negotiate some of the dumpster sites, get rid of those, so we will see a decrease. There won't be any increases.
Yeah, me and Nate also discussed potentially liquidated damages for missed pickups, if there are missed pickups for that Casella would, if we had to go out and pick up as well, they would pay us.
Okay. Do any of you have specific questions for Nathan?
And what was the second bid?
Second bid
sorry.
was 908,196, 192% increase.
And those are the only 2 bidders.
Only 2 bidders.
But this is going to be different.
This is going to be completely different.
Did both of these bidders bid the same
Exactly.
mechanism?
Yes.
And is there anybody, I guess nobody else bid, so, but there's,
the rear load system
It's
is
done?
going away. Neath is from Casella, if you want to speak to it. It's a complicated answer to that question. But basically, you can't hire people anymore. This is the answer to it. You want to do it if you want.
Would you want me to answer some question?
no, I mean, he kind of answered it, but yeah, there's only 2 bids, obviously, so you don't really have a choice of those 2, but I was wondering if the normal way of us doing trash is just going away.
Pretty much. So most towns around Maine, if you look at it, so most towns are going ASL right now, automated siloed. Typically, finding, workers to work out the back of the truck. You're finding a lot of issues with that too. Obviously, they get hurt. It's obviously manual collection, right? So it's more expensive to hire those workers. You have a lot of workers' comp issues as well. So, that's a lot of that is influencing most towns to move towards ASL.
So can you speak to, this is a change for the residents?
Correct.
Right now, if people put out, you're only supposed to put out a couple bags, and people put out 4 or 5 bags, you guys are picking them up.
Absolutely.
But this mechanical system, that tote's only going to hold so much.
Correct.
So if they have extra bags, they're not going to get picked up.
The extra bags typically no.
So that would be up to Nathan to go around and pick those up
My intention of this is to try to get people to stop doing that.
and do more recycling,
Do more recycling.
which is good.
Correct.
Correct.
Talking to Wyndham is the closest town that's done this. They had a rough couple of months, I would say, with that problem, and it's worked its way out.
And when would we be starting it?
A year from July 1st.
But it would start in the summer,
It'll start, yes, I think.
when we're going to have the crows and the other animals in the trash that doesn't get picked up.
We got that now, right now.
I know we do.
So I can add to that too. So in the beginning of the program, what will happen is, you know, if you have extra bags for the first couple of weeks or maybe a month or 2 months, right, we'll be going through with a railroad truck in addition to the ASL truck. What will happen is, you know, we'll pick up all the extra material that you have. Basically, I'll give the residents an opportunity to get used to the new program, you know, until we can, you know, dwindle down basically to the point where they can actually just use the two carts that you have.
And how
Or are they going to get used to cheating the system? They're like, oh, it's still getting picked up. We'll just keep doing it.
So I have a question in relation to that.
Yes.
For routes that fall on holidays, such as Thursday, which is a frequent holiday time, your trash accumulates over those 2 weeks that you're holding it. So, you know, even if you're trying to do your best with recycling, you are going to be over, especially if Christmas falls on a Thursday, like it did this year. So it's not going to fit into those carts. Is that just something where we try to make up for it over a couple of weeks with collection, or would there be, like you just mentioned, a special truck that maybe comes along for those particular situations?
So depending on the situation, we can set an extra truck out. What we typically try to do, though, if we don't, let's say a holiday falls during the week, we'll schedule it for maybe either the Friday or the Saturday, right, the next day that you don't have a collection day.
Okay, so that would be an additional change.
Yes, we'll go ahead and
Okay.
move the day over to a Saturday or maybe the Friday.
All right, thank
depending
you.
On the,
So if there's let's say you have an ADU, an accessory apartment.
Correct,
Will
yeah.
they each get a tote?
So that would be dependent on the town, because obviously it's going to be the town paying for the tonnage. So, you know, we'll work out something with you. Like, for example, Cumberland right now, what we do is, you know, the town would request, or the residents would go to the town and say, hey, you look, I have an ADU. I'm requesting an additional cart. We'll go ahead and deliver the cart to the resident.
Okay.
Based on what the town director said.
Right now, we have a policy that anything over 2 units is commercial.
Correct, and I'm agreeing with that, but the ADU laws are changing.
Correct.
We're going to have 3 or 4 ADUs on a lot.
This is all stuff that we've got to work through.
We'll
with
figure that out
contractor
later.
next
I get
year.
that.
Yeah, there's a ton of changes, like the holiday schedule right now. We only, Christmas and Thanksgiving are the only 2 holidays we don't pick up.
Yeah, I'm
And
on a
we-
Monday, and my trash always gets picked up.
Yeah.
I never have an issue, and there's a lot of Monday holidays.
And we learned that through the last 3 contracts, because I think when we signed the contract 2 or 3 contracts ago, there was 5 holidays in there, and it just didn't work. 4th of July, you got to pick up. You've got, as you said, it's bad.
What's going to happen to the roads that currently have dumpster pickup at the end of their road?
That's the dumpster stuff on the contract. Right now, the dumpsters are in the contract. We don't pay anything extra for them.
Okay, so they will stay.
Well, both contractors separated them out. So there's some roads that we are probably going to do away with the dumpsters, and some I don't think we can. That's some of the things that I want to look at with them, ride around, take a look at, and see what we can do to shave a little bit of money off this. May not be a lot, but...
When do we acquire the cost of the carts? So will that be in FY27? Because I see like there's time between the contract and when we would be getting the carts.
I don't know the answer to that yet. We're going to work over that. There's a fee for I opted to go with them supplying the totes and managing the totes. For us to go out and buy them, we got a quote from one tote company. It was almost $400,000. And then we got to put them all together and deliver them. And I felt that it would just be easier just to let them do it, and they can do the whole thing start to finish. I didn't see enough cost savings in that.
Okay, good to know, because I was wondering if we would have to decide tonight our cart management plan.
No.
Okay.
No. That'll all be in the contract with them.
So when you say, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, you want us to award the contract, but you're going to still work out some details?
Correct.
Find details to shave it, maybe?
I'm going to try to reduce
So it
some
won't
of the
go
cost.
over this?
No. If I can't change anything to reduce the cost, it'll be what it's a bid at.
Okay.
Mine was, so you're essentially kind of renting those totes per year that you have them as the contractors. Man, I guess it doesn't work. I was gonna say, I was just trying to figure out the cost difference between if you're buying them for 400, but you get to their last 10 years or so, versus how much we're actually renting them for, but then you're kind of stuck.
If we buy
At the other next year, when you have to renegotiate the contract, maybe they're not going to use the same totes, then you're screwed with $400,000 worth of totes.
this is a 5-year contract.
Right, no, I was thinking the other way if we're buying the totes.
If we buy the totes, it's $96,000 a year for them, for the tote fee and for them to manage the totes.
It's not the same.
It's about the same.
I mean, not, but at least when you're not breaking them and, yeah, whatever, that's good.
And I think at the end of the contract, if you own the totes, it does give you an option to go out to bid again at the end of 5 years. With them managing the totes, it's kind of 6 of one and a half dozen another, Derek. I felt that it was going to be a lot less strain on me and my crew to just have them do it.
I have another question regarding the cards. You may not be able to answer this, but in the proposal, Casella Waste was going to be, if I'm doing my math correctly, 3,818 carts. But in Allagash Waste Service, they're proposing 8,000 carts. That's quite a difference.
Yes, it is. That's one of the things we got to poke through, and I talked to Talia about that, and we're going to sit down and talk about it.
Okay.
Because they all had the same information, and I don't know what the difference is on that.
Okay. Are there any specific questions? No? Okay, I'll open up for public comment.
I have just one quick question. It's a 5-year contract, correct?
Yep.
And I see $96,000 for carts. We're not going to have the carts till year 2. So does that come off the top of the contract the first year?
I don't believe so.
I mean, that's,
I will find
if
out.
not, we're paying for something we don't have.
Correct. That's all stuff that I
That's
can
my only question.
I didn't feel to go forward with any negotiation or any talking to them until we got an awarded contract.
Okay, like I
So
say,
that would be an obvious, we don't have the
that's
totes.
that's a big one. Why
Yes,
should
it
we
is.
pay for something we don't
Correct.
have?
Yep.
That's it.
Grace, I apologize. I see Brian's hand up. I'm not sure when his hand went up. Can I allow him to go first, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Brian Walker, Plains Road. We wanted to just check in with you on the Allagash proposal. There was I thought a robust component, which was about Recycle Coach, which is software that is helping to make sure that people don't commingle and the like. Nathan, nothing to answer today, but just I would hope that maybe we could look at whether or not there's something out there like that would help do the education. The numbers that Allagash provided in terms of it, the elimination of commingling was fairly impressive. Thanks.
Casella offers a training program and literatures and quite a bit of stuff on the recycling program that will be provided to us through this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Grace Levitt, Levitt Road. Yes, it's more money, but as a member of the inactive recycling committee in Raymond, I'm thrilled to see that there could be a push for more people to do more recycling, and certainly thrilled to see that we'd be doing away with people putting out bags of trash that are supposed to already be in bins, and yet they've been doing it routinely, and it's just not only unsafe, it's unsightly. So if we get to a place where we're really literally cleaning it up, I think that would be great. But I would hope there'd be a great education push. It's got that we do everything we can to be sure everybody's informed about recycling and doing it properly and really increasing that amount. So again, I understand it's a concern about the increase in cost, but I think in the end it benefits us. Thank you.
Jennifer Danzig, 38 Pulpit Rock Road. Of course, the one night that I don't read the agenda or the stuff, and I'm woefully unprepared. So if it's in there and I didn't read it, then I just, tell me to sit down, I guess. So what we're saying, is a tote a garbage can? Like, what is a tote? It's a garbage can. Okay. So then I guess the next question is so we get two, one for trash and one for recycling? Okay. And are they like different colors or, okay. And so like what we're talking about is the trash truck that has the arm that comes and picks them up and dumps them in and whatever. Okay. And so I guess my question is if we're going from manual, where they said that like we had real people that had to pick up trash that rides on the back of the trucks, we have to pay their salaries, they get injured, we pay workers' comp, we do this, it's very expensive for the manual, and now we're going to automation. I mean, isn't the whole point of going automated to save money? So why is it going up so much to have an automated system if we're saving on all of the workers that are doing the real, jumping off the truck and throwing it in and this, that, and the other? So that would be my question, like the giant increase when we're going automated and versus the individuals.
That was one of my questions too, but it looks like it's not even an option anymore. So that's.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no option for it. The only I contacted 3 small.
Nathan,
use mic, please.
Sorry, you do have a good voice, but I'm not sure people can hear you.
We contacted 3 small haulers. Every one of them said, no, we don't want to do it. We don't have the help. The town's too big. We can't do that. I looked at doing it in-house. We could buy 3 trucks. You're going to have to buy 4 employees, and you're going to do it in-house. That's a major undertaking. You probably would save 100, maybe 100,000 on it. It's going to, or you could go to a transfer station, and nobody wants to do that. There's other options out there. That's one of them. I would not recommend doing it in-house. That's a huge undertaking. We have trouble hiring people as it is. You're going to be looking for at least 4 more people.
And you're going to be looking at workman's comp problems just like they are.
So part of the expenses and the reason why the cost is increasing is because of the trucks is different. When I first started at Casella in 2019, one of those trucks used to cost, I think, $400,000. Right now it's like $650,000 for one of the style trucks for the automated side load. Plus, you have the new carts coming in. You have the education piece as well, so that adds to the expense as well. So it's a complete overhaul of your current system on how it is right now. That's what's basically driving up the cost.
I guess just so I guess follow up. So we get 1 trash can and we get 1 recycle. So the recycle, do we have to like wash all the stuff? Because like right now we don't have to wash out our cans and our bottles and our, well, some of us don't. Some of us are just happy that their kids actually recycle. So, and then I guess the second question is like, again, like the Christmas thing where, you have your Chewy boxes and your Amazon boxes and all that kind of stuff. Like that's going to fill up 1 tote, and then you're not even getting into like your bottles and cans and takeout containers and all that. So that would be a question, I guess. And then I guess lastly, so if you have an ADU, then they also get 2, right? So the main house gets 2 and then the ADU gets 2. Okay. Thank you.
Want to go before you, Peter?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're close to a monopoly on.
Sorry, Dennis. Can you?
Dennis Morse, the 340 Cape. I think we all appreciate having the trash picked up, and certainly I know the people that come in for the summer do. I know there'd be a front load on any bid when you're changing over like this. And I did have the same question about saving money, but you explained that very well. But what I'm wondering is, once the front load of the containers, the trucks are bought, I know it's a 5-year deal. Did they spread out the cost of the trucks over 5 years? Is that why it's a 5-year deal? Is that just a normal thing? And secondly, if in fact there's 8,000 containers on one bid and 3,000 on one, and the difference is the containers, I mean, that ought to be explained. And then the last thing I'll say is, with questions raised overall, is that something we have to bid on, the select board has to vote on tonight?
I would like to get it going tonight because there's a lot of questions.
Microphone, please.
Nope, I'm sorry. I would like to award it tonight. I have a lot of questions, and I don't think it's, if I start chopping this up, I really got to do it with both companies.
Yeah, I'm not talking about chopping
No,
up.
no, I understand that, but if I start, I think if I change stuff in it without awarding it, I might be wrong, but I think if I change stuff without awarding it, I don't think that's fair to the other contractor.
Let me clarify it. I'm not asking to go out to another company now that you're working with them. What I'm asking for is to get clarification on the questions that are raised tonight, and if it's front-loaded to buy those, does it go down as the contract goes out? In other words, if it's $400,000 more this year, is it flat for the whole 5 years?
No,
It goes up every year.
Yeah, it's going to
So it's front-loaded for the containers, but it doesn't go down, even though there's less labor and the containers aren't new but one time.
Correct, I would say you're right.
Then I'd wait and get those questions answered.
Yeah. Peter Levitt, just an observation from a comment previously as far as, and I know it may be, in my wife's work on the recycling committee, I kind of got a little bit of a quick schooling on that as well. But one of the things that I learned was that, I know it's almost laughable. I washed out the container, or I removed the plastic, or that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'd laugh at that myself. But my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if a batch recycling that the vendor picks up, they deem it to be contaminated, they burn it. So our tipping goes up, and the environment gets more waste through the stack. So just to be aware, as far as reinforcing that education, as far as recycling, it absolutely needs to be done. And my understanding is that when you're on the committee and when it was active, and we talked to Casella, what we found is that despite some people in the community believing that there was a huge contamination problem in the town, what the committee actually found out through Casella was actually we were one of the better communities as far as keeping the contamination down. But I just felt I'd throw that out there.
I remember that. I was proud of us.
Brian, you still have your hand up. Do you have additional questions?
Yeah, sorry about that. No, it's actually a different comment, which is, I just put my hand back up, Haley. You're very, very observant. I appreciate it. Just so people understand, the tote is 64 gallons large. It's twice the size of a regular garbage can.
Yeah, both my kids can fit in one can.
Proposal. So when people are concerned about getting their garbage and having enough room, you're getting the equivalent of 4 garbage cans with each pickup, 2 for recycling and 2 for your garbage. And if I'm wrong about that, Nathan, please correct. Thanks.
That is correct.
I use them right now anyway, and I don't have an issue overflowing or anything. And I have kids and a wife that does Amazon.
Is there any other questions?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Bill Blood from 7 Mill Street. The question is for Casella. They had mentioned that this is an automated system. I've seen them in Portland where they have no person that actually moves the canisters in place. With that situation, most people have their trash cans not on the street, in their off to the side of the driveway. Is there going to be someone that's going to actually move it out to the mechanism?
That's going to be part of the education program as we go forward, Bill.
More specifically, they'll have little oops stickers.
Correct.
Any other questions?
And our other option is just no trash pickup. And we go.
No trash pickup.
And we would go where?
That's a complicated answer. If you don't go with this, we're going to have to come up with another plan. There's options out there. Like I said, you can do it in-house. We can talk to another town, see if we can join in with their transfer station. We could look at doing one ourselves, which is going to make this look like chump change. There are options out there. But
I haven't seen it done here, but I've also seen towns pass ordinances requiring residents to have a private hauler, and then code enforcement would just enforce. I've never seen it in Maine, but that's a
I don't. Years ago, I talked about doing a paper bag, and I talked about doing a transfer station, and I just about got run out of town. This is near and dear to people's heart. This town, it's expensive. It's a Cadillac of service. It really is.
When I go on showings, I always say, Raymond, we have trash pickup.
Right.
All right. Any discussion for the board regarding this?
I had one more thing to answer Dennis's concern.
Sure.
I believe every concern in here with the lack of toters and everything in this contract can be negotiated with Casella and stay at that number. And if it doesn't, then we'll have to come back to the board, or we'll have to go back out to bid. I don't know what that answer is, but I'm confident enough with Casella. I've worked with them for 30 years in different levels of ownership that we will be able to work this out.
Any discussion? No? Okay. Well, it sounds like we should have a vote then. Would someone like to entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we allow Nathan White, Public Works Director, to award the contract to Casella for curbside solid waste and recycling collection, and give him the authority to negotiate the contract within reason.
Thank you.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And all those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, 4E, budget schedule.
This one's kind of been ping-ponging back and forth. We initially had a zoning board of appeals meeting the night we decided to do budget introduction. As of this morning, that meeting was canceled. I spoke with Karen Lockwood briefly via email, Budget Finance Chair, and there's some members of the Budget Finance Committee in the audience, but I would assume if the first date worked for everybody, it still does. So we were going to look at the 26th on Thursday, but it sounds like now we can stick with the 24th. So up for discussion. But so it would be introduction on the 24th at 5 p.m. or the alternate date was the 26th at 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Any questions regarding this from the board? I entertain public comment. If anybody would like to comment on this?
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none. It works better for me, so.
The 24th?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm assuming since this means there's no changes, we
Don't have to
need
do anything.
anything.
Yeah, like I said, if members of the Finance Committee are here, if anything changed.
I think let's get back where we were.
Okay.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
excellent.
Good.
All right, public comment time.
Thank you, Grace Levitt, Levitt Road. A few items. First of all, just want to be sure people know that the RSU 14 newsletter is on the Raymond website, but it's no longer right there when you open up the website. It's listed under departments, and just remind folks to take time to go look at that. It'll be updated each month. So, by the way, I've mentioned this before, and maybe I'm just mentioning in the wrong place or to the wrong group, but the RSU meetings that are on Cable Channel 3 are now well over a year old, and I don't know how that can get updated so it's showing current or at least recent meetings. I'm not sure what the process is, so if you've got any way to help with that, I'd appreciate it. And I wonder if also RSU 14 meetings can be listed as well on the the town calendar that does come right up on the town website, I think that would be really helpful. Let's see, speaking of meetings, there is a meeting tomorrow night at the high school budget meeting, school board meeting. And on February 25th, the meeting is at Jordan Small, and that's when the superintendent will be presenting the first draft proposal of the RSU 14 budget. Just want to be sure people are following that process and being informed. Throughout March, there are meetings every week, so they go through the different cost centers, and then in April, the RSU Board of Directors will be deliberating on the budget. So for people to be informed, again, is our goal, to be sure they're understanding the process and what goes into it. And tentatively, it's May 13th. Feels like a long way off on a cold night like tonight, but it'll be here before we know it. That's when the public budget meeting will be happening over at Wyndham High School. That's tentative, but it's likely to be the 13th. That's what's in the calendar. Quickly mention again, the Wyndham Raymond Adult Ed catalogs. I was told yesterday at the post office that they have been delivered, but mine never got to me. But just be sure that hopefully you've got it now, and there are still some things available that you could sign up for, so hopefully people are seeing that. Unrelated to the RSU, I just wanted to ask if there would be a possibility this year of the town having a candidates forum, given that there are 3 seats up on the select board and a seat on the RSU 14 board, and seats on the budget committee. I forgot to count how many there are there. I think it's great. It has been great in the past when we've had that. Different organizations, I believe Lions Club has done it often. I'm not sure that it needs to be an organization or if it's just something the town could do. It's been a while since we've had that. And again, there was so many seats up. It'd be great for voters to be well informed and to be sure they're getting a chance to meet all of the candidates. I'm just wondering how that could be brought about, if that's something, again, that the town could do. If you are going to, again, do those informational sessions that you did last spring, perhaps it could just be attached to one of those where candidates are all invited. If so, if there is going to be one, the sooner that date is set, so any potential candidates can work around it and be sure they're available for it, would certainly be helpful. Of course, we'd need someone who would moderate something like that, who would be very neutral and be able to handle that type of a situation and, be sure that everyone stays respectful and all of that. But again, that would be something that would be really good for the town to see. Thank you. If I've forgotten something, I think somebody else will remember it.
It's in black.
11 Road. First of all, I'd second my wife's idea there. We attended in the past candidates' nights, and they were very informative and helpful. In this election coming up, I would venture to say we're having potentially a change in government that's of large proportion with the number of seats that are up. So if we want to get a situation where we have a good feeling about the people that are going to be our leadership, it'd be great to be able, in a forum, in a respectful manner, be able to ask them questions or hear their views on where they think the town is going. So I would second that. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the Budget Finance Committee meeting this month, and was very pleased that what they adopted as one of their goals was traffic calming. And I believe the interim town manager mentioned at that time that he had talked to Nathan, or that there was something in the works about purchasing, or that we had already purchased the radar feedback signs, which I've said ad nauseum are not the solution, but is certainly one of the tools in the toolbox that could be used to calm traffic. So I'm just curious as to what the status of that is. Thank you.
Dennis Morsley, 40K. I just asked Grace as she was walking by if I missed it on our bulletin boards between Town Hall and Public Safety. I think it would be really nice if we could put the school meetings up when they were occurring, just like they were town business, because they are. especially when it's at Jordan Small School. Those would be the ones I'd like to attend as opposed to going to Wyndham. And so if it's possible to get those added to the bulletin board, I certainly would appreciate it as a citizen. Thank you.
Great. Good idea.
Riley Sylvia, Parks and Rec Director. I just want to highlight something pretty awesome that we had go on this weekend. So we started putting up a skating rink this year. Everything good?
You're good.
Oh, okay. We put up a skating rink this year, and we decided to make an event out of it. So we had Cheese the Day food truck. We had DJ Alex from Celebration Corporation, which was sponsored by Berry Water Solutions. We had the Aroma Joe's truck that donated everything. So it was free coffee, free hot chocolate, free Rush samples, and we had probably about 150 people come throughout the day. So we had Cheese the Day food truck. I'm hearing myself.
Sorry, that was Brian's mic.
Yeah, so it was a great showing. We had kids all over the ice all day. We had little activities going on throughout the day, and it was just a great community event to bring everyone together. Just a couple updates of what's going on with us. We're doing Camp Raymond on vacation for February break and April break. So if people need childcare over the breaks, then they can come to us. We just put out registration for our summer program. We instantly filled up just on summer camp returners. We actually found a way to expand our program. So we added 20 spots this year, which is going to be a huge expansion for us. So that will hopefully allow some kiddos who are new to the program to be able to get in, because we had filled up just on those returners. This Saturday, we have our Sweetheart Soiree, which is our Valentine's Day dance. We have the last week of ski club and basketball this weekend. We have a disaster and emergency preparedness presentation that we're doing through Age Friendly Raymond. That's the Red Cross coming in to do that presentation. And then we also just posted our registration for youth futsal and Easter egg hunt. So if you're not already on our newsletter, we have tons of stuff. Our February one was just really big, so feel free to sign up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'm not seeing any hands on Zoom, and nobody's at the podium, so I'm going to close public comment and move on to select board comment.
None for me.
Riley killed mine. I attended that event. It was actually a blast. We had there was some music there. Aroma Joe's had free stuff there, which was fun. The kids liked it. There was a snow volleyball, some like beach, like the snow's kind of fluffy, but they had, like, you go to the beach, excuse me, snow sand castles, and kids are trying to make them. It was pretty funny. But there was all ages there. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. The fire department was there. They got to touch a truck and go inside of it. It was pretty awesome. So people looking for community events and stuff out there, keep an eye on what Riley comes up with, because they're always pretty fun. And that was it.
Sounds awesome. Thanks for bringing some positive stuff back after your vacation over there in Amherst, was it?
Attitash.
Attitash, sorry.
Yep.
I know it wasn't a vacation. I'm good.
And Sam said he's good, so we're good with that. If you would like to do your town manager's report.
Sure. I'll keep it brief. I'm sure there's more to report out on, but I've just been sort of focused on building the budget and getting it to you guys before introduction. So just sort of an update on that, because we've talked about it before in previous meetings, but finance director's having her kickoff meeting tomorrow with TownCloud to start updates to the AP finance system and complete the reconciliation work that we're behind on. But as we discussed previously, before the auditors can be scheduled for the FY25 audit, that'll delay the delivery of your audited financial statements. So when you get your budget books for introduction, those will be projected fund balance figures. They won't be audited fund balance figures, and those will be projected year-end 25 until we can complete that reconciliation work and finalize the audit. So I just wanted you to be aware of that as you get that material over the next week or two. So we're not where we want to be, but we will be in the future. But that's most notable update I have for tonight.
Okay. Upcoming dates for regular meetings, we've got Tuesday, March 10th and Tuesday, April 14th. If everybody would like to take a quick look at their calendar and make sure those are okay.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Doesn't state, but I think that's the normal.
That's what I have already in there, so.
I'm all good. Dates work for me.
Okay, I'll stick with those for now.
Okay.
Next, we have an executive session, and then we will adjourn after that. So once people have left, I'll be looking for a motion for that.
Yep.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Kayla, do you want to vote to go into executive?
I do, but I just,
Jennifer, next time,
You guys are very patient.
be a little more prepared. That would be great.
we will vote, but hold on, so just keep it going.
Usually I'm more prepared.
Which one did I steal? Stole that
I
one?
got mine, and she's got mine. Oh, you gave me mine back, okay.
Yeah, now look.
I got these with my life. Huh? Now yours is working?
Okay. Would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRS
Hey, guys.
4056A, discussion
see you,
of
Dennis.
personnel matters.
Always a pleasure, Sam.
Want to wait till the room's clear?
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Weren't we supposed to do something else too for Bill? Read
At the end.
Opening?
That's after.
Okay.
What do you do? Cut the audio?
Yeah, he did.
Is the audio better now, Bill?
Yeah, you're all set.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 4056A, which will be a discussion of personnel matters.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Sam, do I have a second?
Second.
And that was Derek with a second. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, we are ready to exit executive session, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Not adjourn, exit executive session.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and all those in favor? Okay, next.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Glenn Malakowski as the town manager for the town of Raymond, pending contract negotiations with our HR director and satisfactory contract.
Second.
Thank you, Sam. And all those in favor? Thank you.
And
Congratulations again.
Congratulations,
Thank
Glenn.
you.
Congratulations
all.
to us, yes.
Yeah, and I look forward to working with you all in the residence.
And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
thank you, Chris. And a second with Derek. And all those in favor? Thank you.
Good night.